This is Autoline Daily, the show dedicated to enthusiasts of the global automotive industry. The Trump administration continues its efforts to roll back regulations that were put in place by previous presidents. There's been attempts to rescind the fuel economy standards, EV tax credits, the waiver that allows California to set its own emission rules, and it did stop funding for new EV chargers. Now the EPA says it started efforts to roll back nationwide emission standards, which progressed up to a 50% cut of fleet-wide passenger vehicle emissions by 2032. That would have required automakers to build and sell a growing number of electric vehicles in order to meet those targets. The EPA is also reconsidering regulations that would have cut heavy-duty truck emissions by 80% over time. While these standards were putting pressure on automakers and suppliers to meet them, they were put in place to reduce sickness and death, as well as help lower costs over time. And they also netted automakers like Tesla billions in ZEV credits. With the standards ramping up, it forced automakers who weren't compliant to buy credits from those that were. So, if emissions are relaxed, the credits start to go away. And that could have a big impact on automakers like Tesla, which has made $2 billion selling ZEV credits over the years. And in other Tesla news, the automaker is trying to improve the performance of its hands-free driving system in China. While it recently launched an FSD update in the country, the system is still not as capable as the version that it offers in the US because the company doesn't have permission to fully train FSD in China yet. Elon Musk previously said that it used publicly available video of traffic environments to help launch the update that it just did. But that didn't work well enough, with reports of users getting tickets because cars are making illegal maneuvers on the road. So now comes word that Tesla is also working with Baidu to integrate Baidu's mapping information into FSD so it has more accurate road information. However, it remains to be seen if this will expand FSD's availability in China, which is currently limited to newer models that only started getting built last year. And a bigger base of FSD users would be good for Tesla because pre-orders for the new Model Y in China might not be as high as some thought. Reports came out that there could be more than 200,000 people waiting to get their hands on the EV. But an analyst believes that some were getting confused about how Tesla assigns reservation numbers to vehicles. They believe the real number is around 89,000 units and also includes Model 3 registrations. That number would represent just under 2 months of deliveries for Tesla in China, which is the current delivery time for both models right now. General Motors union workers in South Korea are worried about losing their jobs because of U.S. tariffs. The union is concerned GM will reduce or even move production to the U.S. if tariffs go into effect. Bloomberg reports that union leaders are traveling to Detroit this weekend to meet with GM executives to get more clarity about plans for importing vehicles made outside of the U.S. The union leaders also plan to meet with UAW President Shawn Fain, who is in favor of the tariffs. GM Korea employs nearly 10,000 people, and last year it exported nearly 500,000 vehicles, and almost 80% of them went to the U.S. Speaking of those tariffs, BMW says it's just going to eat them, at least for now. The automaker told its U.S. dealers it would price protect certain models that are made in Mexico and subject to the tariffs. Those models include the 3 Series sedan and 2 Series coupe. But BMW says it will only eat those tariffs until May 1st.
There's nothing wrong with heavy metal.
Hey, lighten up.
But with world-class composite material, Teijin Automotive Technologies makes vehicles lighter, safer, and more eco-friendly.
Volkswagen spent more restructuring the company last year than it made selling cars. It did increase sales by nearly 3% to just under 5 million units, which brought in 140 billion euros of revenue, up 1.6%. But it says restructuring costs and high purchasing incentives at the beginning of the year led to increased spending. That dropped its earnings before interest and taxes down to just under 7 billion euros, which was 4.3% lower. and VW's net cash flow came in at roughly $4.7 billion, a drop of nearly 17%. The company says this year it will continue to try and make its plants more efficient, reduce the number of groups it has for technical development, and gear up for launching a new, more affordable family of EVs. Last November, European EV battery maker Northvolt filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy in the U.S. in an effort to raise new financing because it was nearly $6 billion in debt. But Northvolt was unable to secure a deal, so it just filed for bankruptcy in Sweden. Its business and assets will be sold by a court-appointed trustee. However, Northvolt Germany and Northvolt North America are not filing for bankruptcy in their jurisdictions. Northvolt struggled to ramp up mass production of batteries, which led to several automakers canceling contracts, which contributed to its money woes. Toyota launched the fourth model in its Crown lineup, the Estate, in Japan. The automaker describes it as a combination of an SUV and station wagon and says it's aimed at buyers with an active lifestyle. So, to make camping and being outdoors more comfortable, the model features a pull-out chair and table in the luggage area. The Crown Estate is available with a hybrid and plug-in hybrid powertrain, and they both average about 47 mpg or 20 kilometers per liter based on the WLTP test cycle. But even though they achieve similar fuel economy, the PHEV is much more expensive. The hybrid starts at $42,800, while the PHEV costs $54,600. Toyota says it expects to sell around 1,500 Crown Estates per month in Japan. At the beginning of the year, the outgoing Biden administration finalized rules that effectively bans Chinese software and hardware in connected cars. And that's why we're intrigued to see that Mercedes is partnering with Chinese Lidar maker Hesai to develop smart cars for global markets using Hesai sensors. Reuters reports it wasn't an easy decision for Mercedes and that it took months to deliberate because of the legal and geopolitical risks. But the automaker ultimately chose Hesai because of its low cost and ability to produce lidars at scale. Some European automakers already use Hesai's lidars for vehicles that they sell in China, but Mercedes could be the first company to use them for models sold outside of China. And don't forget that Autoline After Hours goes live at 3 p.m. Eastern Time today. John says he wants to talk about the most reliable cars that you can buy because we have Jason Norton from J.D. Power coming on the show. As you may remember, J.D. Power recently released its annual dependability study, and we thought that GM did surprisingly well. So, no doubt that will be a topic. But that's a wrap for this show. Thanks for making Autoline a part of your day.
Autoline Daily is brought to you by Intrepid Control Systems. Over-the-air engineering boost your game. And by Teijin Automotive Technologies, the formula for better mobility.
Developing today's vehicles. Issues can happen in an instant. When's the best time to solve a problem? The minute you know you have one. Meet Wireless Neovi Cloud, your secure, off-the-shelf solution empowering real-time collaboration for quick resolution. With Wireless Neovi Cloud, your team can prevent issues before they can escalate. Driver communication data and remote diagnostics to analyze and resolve your problems using OTA, allowing your executives oversight throughout the process. Wireless Neovi Cloud, your vehicle update solution in production and on the road. Intrepid Control Systems, driven by your data.